Hello everyone, welcome back to another session on pumps. So in my last videos I've been covering about centrifugal pumps and in this video we will talk about reciprocating pumps. Okay, so what is a pump? A pump is a hydraulic machine which converts mechanical energy to hydraulic energy, and if this mechanical energy is converted to hydraulic energy with the help of a centrifugal force, then that um, hydraulic machine or that hydraulic pump is known as a centrifugal pump. Okay, as I've told you in my earlier classes, pumps are classified into two types: centrifugal pumps and reciprocating pumps. In centrifugal pumps, the energy conversion is with the help of a centrifugal force. Okay, and this centrifugal force will help the pressure rise to take place. And whereas in reciprocating pump, the mechanical energy is getting converted to hydraulic energy with the help of a piston. Okay, you have a piston which is placed inside a cylinder, and this piston will be reciprocating. What is the meaning of reciprocating? Moving forward and backward. So when the piston is moving backward, a vacuum or a suction is created which forces the water to enter inside, and when the piston moves forward in the cylinder, this water will be pushed out. So due to the piston reciprocating, that is moving forward and backward, the water is sucking and leaving out. So that's how this pump is known as reciprocating pump. So what is reciprocating in this pump? A piston which is placed inside a cylinder. This piston will be helpful in making the water to rise from the sump level, enter into the what do you call this cylinder, and then leaving out of the cylinder with the help of a delivery pipe. Okay, so this phenomenon let's see in detail now. So coming to the components of a reciprocating pump, we have mainly five components. One is a cylinder with a piston rod, connecting rod and a crank. We have a suction pipe, we have a delivery pipe, we have a suction valve, and we have a delivery valve. Okay, these 2, 3, 4 and 5, these components are very common with centrifugal pump. But here we have a cylinder with a piston connected with the piston rod, which is again connected with the connecting rod and which is connected to a crank. Okay, I'll show you them. So see here, this is how our reciprocating pump looks like. Okay, so see here, I'll explain you all the components now. As I've told you, the first main component is a piston. So you can see here where the pointer is there, this is our piston, and this piston is connected with the help of a piston rod. This piston rod is further connected with a connecting rod. So this connecting rod connects the piston rod and the crank. Okay, this is your crank. So this crank rod and the piston rod are connected with the help of a connecting rod, and this crank will be further coupled with a motor, electric motor. Like when you switch on the motor, this crank will be moving forward and backward. So since this crank is moving forward and backward, obviously this crank rod is getting connected to piston rod, right? So obviously our piston also will be moving forward and backward. Okay, and I've told you this piston is placed inside a cylinder. So observe, this is a cylinder and our piston is placed inside this. Next you have a suction valve. This is your suction pipe, this is the delivery valve, this is the delivery pipe, and you have HS and HD. HS stands for suction head, which is the difference of head level between the suction sump level and the center of the piston. Similarly, you have delivery head, which is the head difference between the center of the piston to the delivery pipe. Okay, and this is the sump level or the sump tank from where the water is to be lifted. So clear? And this total length is given by 2 into R, where R is the radius of your crank. Okay, so you can observe, right, it is reciprocating forward and backward. Like this crank rod will be initially in this position, making an angle of theta. So once the the crank moves backward, means if this crank comes to point C, then what will happen? This complete piston will come back. Okay, and similarly if this crank rod comes to position A, what will happen? This piston will push forward. Okay, so and this L is nothing but it's called as stroke length. Okay, the one forward and backward motion is called as stroke. So stroke length is given by L, which is 2 times R. Obviously this radius will be R, or this distance will be R. R is nothing but it is the radius of your crank rod. So when your crank rod is coming, this part, when it is coming to A, this obviously this distance would be R. When it is going back to C, this distance would be r. So what will be the total stroke length? 2 times r. Okay, now I'll explain you in detail how the phenomenon takes place. As I've told you, a suction or a vacuum is created with the help of this piston rod. Okay, listen very carefully. As I've told, here our piston is reciprocating, means the piston is moving forward and backward. So very simple process. First you will switch on the electrical motor, and this crank rod will be connected, the other end of the crank rod will be connected to the electrical motor. So once the motor is switched on, what will happen is, this crank rod will first move towards C. Okay, the crank rod will move towards C. In this way, in this clock direction, it will come back to C. When it comes to C, what will happen? This piston will slowly come backward. Right? It's a minimum common sense. When this is coming backside, obviously this entire connection will move backward. So what will happen? A vacuum is created inside. A gap is created inside. So what will happen? The water, whichever is in the sump tank, will have atmospheric pressure. Why? This water, whichever is in the sump, is open to atmosphere. So when any liquid is open to atmosphere, the pressure possessed by that liquid will be atmospheric pressure. So the water in the sump tank will have atmospheric pressure. And when the piston moved backward, what happened here? A vacuum was created. Correct? So now obviously our atmospheric pressure will be greater than this inside pressure. Correct? That's a common sense. So now what will happen? This water will try to run inside this low pressure area. Since here the pressure is high, obviously the water wants to go into a low pressure area. So what will happen? Once the piston moves backwards, the suction valve will open and the water rushes inside the cylinder. Now the water is here. Where was our crank rod? It was at C. Now what will happen? This crank rod has to move again back to A, right? Why? Because it's a reciprocating action. It has to move forward and backward. Now it was at backward, the suction valve opened and the water entered inside. Now what has to happen? It has to come back to A, correct? So now here our crank rod was there at C. Now it slowly started moving towards A again. Okay, initially from here the crank rod was moving backward, means it covered 180 degrees. Now from back to C, it is coming back to A. So now when the crank rod comes to A, what will happen? This connecting rod will move forward, which means piston rod will move forward, which means piston will move forward. Here already there was water, right? So now what this piston will do? It will push the water. It will exert pressure or force on the water, and hence subsequently the delivery valve will open and the water rushes out from the delivery pipe. This is the process which takes place in a reciprocating pump. I am explaining you once again. When the crank will move towards point C, that is when it is moving backward, the piston will move backward, which creates a vacuum inside or a low pressure region inside the cylinder, which will make the water outside, which is having atmospheric pressure, to move inside the cylinder, by thereby opening the suction valve through the suction pipe. And once the crank rod again comes back to A, obviously the piston will move forward, which pushes the water to move out, which increase the pressure of the water, and hence the water moves out. Obviously our delivery valve will open, the suction valve will close, delivery valve will open, and the water comes out to the delivery pipe. And this will be a very continuous action. Okay, this reciprocation will be continuous. So since our piston rod is rotating, or our crank rod, whatever you call it, will be the same meaning. Why? Because if your crank rod is rotating, means obviously a piston rod is also rotating, right? I mean reciprocating, right? Why? Because they are all connected to each other. So if the piston rod is rotating, or else if the crank rod is reciprocating, if the piston rod is reciprocating, or if the crank rod is reciprocating, that's why this pump is so called a reciprocating pump. So what is reciprocating, or what is moving forward and backward in a reciprocating pump? It's the piston rod. Okay, with the help of which only the water is sucked inside and it is sent outside. So finally, this is the phenomenon of water entering and leaving the reciprocating pump. So as I've told you, the same process I've explained you here. So figure shows a single acting reciprocating pump. Why it is called single acting means, see here, this is our piston, right? Only the front part of the piston is in contact with water, correct? As I've told you, after water entering into the cylinder, again the piston will move forward, right? So only front part of the piston is in contact with water. So only one side of the piston is in contact with water. So it is so called single acting reciprocating pump, which consists of a piston moving forward and backward in a close fitting cylinder. So alright, this is our cylinder. You have a piston which is moving forward and backward, which is reciprocating. And this movement of the piston is connected with the help of piston rod and to the crank by means of a connecting rod, which I have told you already. And this crank is rotated by means of an electric motor, as I have told you. So piston is connected with the help of piston rod to connecting rod to the crank, and this crank will be connected to a motor which will help in reciprocation. Next, suction and delivery pipes. As I've told you, you have a suction pipe, you have a delivery pipe, you have a suction valve, and you have a delivery valve. And these allow water, these are all single way valves, these allow water to flow only in one direction. Means suction valve will open, means the water will flow from bottom to upwards in one direction, and after here automatically this will close, and here what will happen, delivery valve will open upwards and water will flow from upward to again like this, again bottom to upward like this. Next, suction valve allows water from suction pipe obviously to the cylinder, and delivery valves allow water from cylinder to delivery pipe. So as I've told you, the complete process is this. As the crank starts rotating, the piston moves to and fro. As I've told you, right, forward and backward. When the crank is at A, the position of the piston is at extreme left. So see here, when the crank rod is at A. So once this crank rod position is at A, just imagine what will happen. This complete piston will be towards the left. It will move forward, right? Means what? In our view, it is completely towards the left position. And this crank is at C means what? It is completely towards the right position, which means it is moving backward. So what will happen, it seems, as the crank is rotating from A to C, the piston moves right in the cylinder. The movement of the piston towards right creates a partial vacuum, as I've told you. So when the crank is moving from A to C, obviously the piston will come back, which is creating a vacuum. Then the liquid will enter the suction pipe through the suction valve, and when the crank is rotating from C to A, that is when it is coming back from C to A, what is happening? This will move forward. So what will happen? Delivery valve will open and the water will move into the delivery pipe. Okay, this is the process of water sending to higher heights with the help of a reciprocating pump. So the piston and the piston rod and the connecting rod and the crank rod, which are all connected together, they reciprocate. I mean, they are moving to and fro, or else they are moving forward and backward, thereby helping the water to be delivered to good heights. Okay, let's calculate what is the discharge through a single acting reciprocating pump. Okay, let D is the diameter of the cylinder, A is the area of cross section of the piston, this one, right? So D is the diameter of the cylinder, A is the area of cross section of the piston. The piston looks like a circle. So if D is the diameter, small d is the diameter of the piston, then obviously area of cross section of it will be pi by 4 d square. R is the radius of the crank, as I've shown you. N is RPM of the crank. Okay, how many times it is moving forward and backward. Okay, that is N. Next, L is length of the stroke. As I've told you, one stroke means one forward and one backward motion, like one complete what do you call, reciprocation, one complete to and fro motion. Like if the crank rod is at A, from A to C and again from C to A, this complete motion, this complete to and fro motion is called as a stroke. Next, HS is equal to suction head. As I have told you already, suction head is height from the sump tank to the center of the piston. Next, HD, it is again delivery head, which is height from the center of the piston to the delivery pipe. So discharge of water in one revolution is equal to area into length of the stroke. This is discharge of water or volume of water in one revolution. Means one to and fro motion is area into length of the stroke, as I've told you. What was length of the stroke? I told you 2 into R. So it will be A into 2 into R. So number of revolutions per second, how much it will be? Obviously pi by 60. Per second means pi by 60. What is this pi? 180 degrees. We are traveling the entire angle, right? So pi by 60. So what will be the discharge of the pump per second now? I have discharge for one revolution and I know the number of revolutions, which is sorry, n by 60. This is not pi by 60, n by 60. Okay, yeah, it is n by 60, sorry. Why? Because number of revolutions is denoted by n, and for 1 second is for 1 second, if you want, you have to divide n by 60. So please make a correction. This is n by 60. So discharge for one revolution is a into L. I have number of revolutions as n by 60. So finally, what will be my Q? For 1 second, it will be one revolution into number of revolutions per second, which is A into L into N by 60. So Q is equal to A L N by 60 is the formula for discharge through a single acting reciprocating pump. And we know that what is the formula for weight of water delivered per second? It is rho into G into Q. This formula I've told earlier how it came. So whereas rho into G is the specific weight of water into discharge. So from here, we have already the formula of Q, ALN by 60. Just substitute here. So weight of water, you will get it as rho G ALN by 60. So finally, what will be the work done? What is work done per second formula? Weight of the water lifted into height. What is the weight of water lifted? Just now we got rho G ALN by 60 into what is the total height? HS plus HD. Just substitute all the values, you'll get work done per second as rho G ALN into HS plus HD by 60. And power required to drive the pump, power formula is work done per second divided by 1000 if you want in kilowatts. So work done per second is rho G ALN by ALN into HS plus HD by 60 into 1000. So finally our denominator will become 60,000. So power is given by the formula rho G ALN into HS plus HD by 60,000. This is the formula for calculation of work done by a reciprocating pump. Okay. Just first calculate the discharge in one revolution, which is area into length, A into L. Number of revolutions will be, as I've told you, just make a small correction. This is N. N by 60. And then finally discharge, total discharge will be one revolution into N revolutions, which is the L N by 60. Weight of water delivered is specific weight into Q. This is what you get. And finally work done will be weight of water into total height. So W into HS plus HD, just substitute the value of W, you will get work done per second. Then power formula is work done per second by 1000 in kilowatts. So this is what the formula for power is. So you need to remember this Q formula, this weight formula, then work done formula, this one, and also the power formula, which are very, very important in calculation of problems. Next, coming to double acting reciprocating pump. What was single acting reciprocating pump? I told you only when one side of the piston is in contact with water. In double acting reciprocating pump, you have two sides of piston in contact with water. See, this is the diagram for a double acting reciprocating pump. See, when the piston is moving forward, the water which is coming from suction pipe 1 will be in contact with the piston, and when it is moving backward, completely extreme right position, the water will enter from the suction pipe 2 into the cylinder, and when the piston is moving forward, the water whichever is present here, which came out from second suction pipe, will be in contact. Again, when it is coming here, it will be in contact with first suction pipe. So the piston is in contact with both the waters coming out from suction 1 pipe and suction 2 pipe. So here two times the waters get is in contact with the piston. That's why it's called double acting. Okay, as I've told you, the water is acting on both sides of the piston, and hence we require two suction pipes and two delivery pipes. And calculation of discharge, work done, power is very easy. We have already calculated for single acting reciprocating, right? Discharge, what was the formula? ALN by 60. Now it is double acting, so it will be just 2 times ALN by 60. Similarly, work done also. Work done per second, we got rho G ALN into HS plus HD by 60. Now it is double acting, means just 2 times. Similarly, here we got power rho G ALN into HS plus HD by 60,000. So what will be here? It is 2 times rho G ALN into HS plus HD by 60,000. This is how you need to do. It's very simple for double acting, but most of the cases we have only single acting reciprocating pumps. Next, coming to slip. What is the slip? See, always remember, it's not only about pumps, it's not only about notches. Anywhere you observe, we have two terms. We have a theoretical discharge and we have an actual discharge. What is theoretical discharge? Theoretical discharge is derived when under ideal conditions, like we assume some things. We assume the flow to be laminar, we assume the liquid to be ideal, means viscosity is 0, we assume the frictional losses to be 0, like that. Practically this will not happen, correct? Means actual discharge will not be equal to theoretical discharge, but it will be always less than the theoretical discharge. Why? Because theoretical discharge is derived under ideal conditions. So actual discharge means whatever the water or the liquid is flowing through the pipe or your notch or your pump will not be equal or greater than the theoretical discharge. It will be less. Why it will be less? Due to frictional loss, right? Obviously some water will be getting stuck to the walls of your pump or walls of your pipe, right? So you're losing some head, right? If your pipe or your connections will have leakage, what will happen? You will lose some water, right? So actual discharge will never be equal to theoretical discharge. It will be always less. So slip is nothing but the difference between the actual theoretical discharge and actual discharge of the reciprocating pump. Okay, slip is nothing but the difference of theoretical discharge and actual discharge of the reciprocating pump. So it's given by the formula slip is equal to Q theoretical minus Q actual. So why? Because theoretical is more, Q actual is less. So slip is Q theoretical minus Q actual. But slip we generally mention it in terms of percentages. So just percentage slip is given by the formula. If they ask generally what is slip, you can tell difference of theoretical minus actual discharge. But if they ask what is percentage of slip, especially in problems they'll ask you, then you have to write percentage slip is equal to Q theoretical minus Q actual by Q theoretical into 100. Just if I divide this, what I'll get? 1 minus Q actual by Q theoretical. I think you're already very familiar. Q actual by Q theoretical gives us the coefficient of discharge. So this can be also written as 1 minus CD into 100. And negative slip. As I've told you, what was slip? Slip is the difference between the theoretical discharge and actual discharge. But sometimes the actual discharge may be greater than the theoretical discharge. Yeah, it may happen sometimes. When your delivery pipe is very short, when your suction pipe is very long, and when if the pump is running at very high speed, so your actual discharge might be greater than the theoretical discharge. Okay, so that time whatever slip you get. So obviously I told what was the formula of slip. Slip is theoretical minus actual, but now actual became greater. So theoretical was less. So if I subtract, what will happen? Obviously slip will get negative value. Why? Because Q actual is more. So slip will be minus value. That is called as negative slip. Okay. Coming to the classification, as I've told you, we have two broader classification. One is according to the water being in contact either with one side or two sides of the piston. If the water is in contact with one side of the piston, it is called single acting. If it is in contact with both sides of the piston, then it is called double acting. And according to the number of cylinders provided, if you have one cylinder, it is single cylinder. If it is two cylinders, double cylinder. If you have three cylinders, it is triple cylinder. So in our diagram, we had this was single acting. Why? Because only one side of piston is in contact with water and we had only one cylinder. So it is single acting, single cylinder pump. Okay. Here also the same. Here also we have, here we have double acting, single acting, reciprocating pump. If you consider to be in one side, it will be single acting. If you consider two sides, it will be double acting. So like this also we have an example. Here we have, I consider this to be only one cylinder, then it will be obviously a single cylinder, double acting, single acting, reciprocating pump. It depends on how you divide it. Okay, if you consider only up to this part, then it will be a single acting. But if you consider till here, then it will be double acting. Next, coming to the comparison between centrifugal pump and reciprocating pump, coming to the differences between them. The first point is discharge is continuous in centrifugal pump. It is smooth. Here discharge is fluctuating and pulsating. Why? Because why in reciprocating pump it is fluctuating means due to this piston action. Okay. And next, in centrifugal pump, it can handle large quantity of liquid. It handles very small quantity of liquid. Why? Because in centrifugal pumps, the energy conversion with the help of an impeller, it is very bigger. Here, this is only due to vacuum, right, in reciprocating pump. So it may not give high pressure rise. So hence the water may not rise to very high level. Okay, we can just use little amount of water for little heads. It can be used for lifting high viscous liquids. Not only for water, you can use centrifugal pumps for lifting viscous liquids also, like honey, oil, honey, etc. It is used for lifting water or low viscous liquids. This can be used only for usage of lifting water or very low viscous liquids like CCl4 and so on. Next, it can be used for large discharge. As I've told you, it can be used for small discharge. Cost of this pump is very less when compared to reciprocating, but reciprocating is almost 4 times the centrifugal. Why? Because you need to purchase a piston rod, connecting rod, crank rod. Again, you need an electric motor, so this all connection is required. Centrifugal pumps runs at high speed, reciprocating will run at low speed. Yes, crank here, since it's reciprocating forward and backward, it is the speed is less, but here the speed is more, speed of the impeller. Operation of this pump is smooth and without much noise. Maintenance cost is also less for centrifugal pump, whereas here it is more maintenance and more noisy. Why? Because as the crank rod is moving forward and backward, due to this the piston movement, you get a good amount of sound, and obviously the cost is maintenance is high. This pump needs small floor area and installation cost is low. This pump needs large floor area. Reciprocating looks a bigger size when you compare to a centrifugal pump. Here efficiency is high in a centrifugal pump. In reciprocating pump, efficiency is compared to be low. So in spite of advantages and disadvantages, it depends on the type of the operation, and hence you can choose any one of the pump. So this is all about the reciprocating pump. Okay. Hope you are very clear with this video. Once again, go through the video. Still you have any doubt, you can just contact me either through mail or through a comment. And thank you.